Recently, I've become very invested in a new, to me, Josei horror/romance manga series, and that series is兄だったmono, or in English, it will be He Was My Brother. This one's coming from Yen Press this November. In Japanese, it has finished publishing with 11 volumes. I've only read the first volume. I don't know what happens after volume one, but I'm enjoying it so much that I would like to recommend it. What is this series about? I'm going to try and be as spoiler free as I can be while still giving a good feel for the story. So, this series follows a pair of siblings. We have a younger sister and an older brother. A long time ago, the two of them used to live with their parents in Tokyo, and it was a very happy family. Unfortunately, when the brother's around university age, he comes out as gay, and his parents do not approve. So the brother decides to move out of his house, moves to rural Japan to live with his boyfriend in peace and harmony. Sadly, though, not too long after they move in together, the older brother gets pretty sick. And he has to choose between moving back to Tokyo and potentially living out his last days near his parents in a hospital where nobody really approves of him, or being cared for by his boyfriend, surrounded by nature where everything loves him. So obviously, he chooses to stay with his boyfriend. So the younger sister has no choice. If she wants to see her older brother before it's too late, she has to visit him and his boyfriend at their new house. So she makes the journey out there. And so she meets the boyfriend, who's surprisingly kind. Like, he's probably the most kind person she's ever met. And eventually the boyfriend leaves the room so that the siblings can have a minute to talk. And the older brother explains to her that, yeah, he does not have all that much time left to live, so he wants to make a request of his little sister. He asks her, please, every once in a while, whenever you're able to, could you please come down, spend some time with my boyfriend? He doesn't seem like it, but he is the type to get very lonely very easily. I'm worried about what's going to happen to him after I'm gone. So please, can you, just sometimes when you're able to, come visit him? And the sister goes, okay. Because it's her brother's one last wish. She can't say no to that. And so the sister eventually goes back to Tokyo, continues living her life, and then that day comes and her brother is no longer around. So she has no choice but to go back and visit the boyfriend. But she's not all that hard pressed about the fact that she's kind of forced by her brother's one last request to visit the boyfriend. And that's because during that visit, when she met the boyfriend, she fell in love with him. So she is so happy to be able to go see the boyfriend. She's happy that they have something to share, the trauma of losing her older brother and his, I guess now, ex-boyfriend. So her head is a little bit twisted. It seems like she knows that, like, she's kind of being a bad sister by having feelings for her older brother's boyfriend, but she can't really help it. You can't really help who you fall in love with. You can obviously help how you act about it, but you can't help who you fall in love with. So she goes and visits him, and she is so excited to visit him, but there's something kind of strange happening. It seems like there's this kind of black creature hanging around the boyfriend. And it turns out that creepy black creature is the ghost of her older brother. Turns out that when he was alive, he was more than happy to share his boyfriend with his loving younger sister, the younger sister who would never fall in love with his boyfriend. He was more than happy to make that request of her to keep him company. Now that he's a ghost, he does not want to share his boyfriend with anyone. He's clutching on to him. The boyfriend can't see the ghost, but the ghost is clutching on to him, saying, he's mine, stay away. He doesn't want the sister to have the boyfriend, and the sister just sees this as an obstacle. One more thing to get through until she can reach her goal, and that goal being the boyfriend. And that is a quick summary of what happens. Moving on a little further, I will be talking about spoilers, at least for volume 1 from here on out. The further into this volume we go, the deeper things get. The sister is a little bit twisted in the mind, but it does seem like this is her very first love, and she really just does not know how she should act about it. She's also in active grief for losing her older brother. So her head is a huge mess. Her home life is a really big mess. Her mother is pretty overbearing. And again, the mother like kind of shunned the brother and his boyfriend for coming out. So like her whole life is kind of turned upside down by everything. And she's acting really on the only one thing she knows she can act, which is her feelings for the boyfriend. So I'm not justifying what she's doing, but like she has her reasonings for doing what she's doing. But she continues to go visit the boyfriend whenever she can. And the more she sees of him, the weirder the ghost of her brother is acting. And again, spoilers from here on out, because I'm going to spoil volume 1. We get the sense that it's not necessarily, this is just how I think this is how I portray it. It's not necessarily that the ghost of the brother doesn't want the sister to have the boyfriend. That is how it seems at first. It very much seems like he's mine, he's not yours, stay away. But as the story goes on, it more so feels like the ghost of the brother is saying, he's mine, and I'm going to take him, as in to where all the other ghosts are. I'm going to make it so he joins me in the afterlife. And things get really dark because the more we see of the brother, the more we see of the boyfriend and how just unfortunate and tragic his life has become after the loss of the older brother, things become very dark. We see him get suspiciously injured. We really don't know why. And it seems like it's the ghost of the brother that's trying to make these injuries happen so that the boyfriend can join him, which is very dark. We don't know why. Nothing is really explained. And again, this is all just how I interpreted the volume. Things really are left way up in the air. There's a whole bunch of mystery introduced, but it's really, really interesting. It is very much a human drama as well. So we have the sister who, again, it's not a good thing. She's doing a bad thing by acting on her feelings towards the brother's boyfriend. But again, her head's a whole mess. And then we also have the boyfriend who he's trying to be very hospitable to the younger sister of his ex-boyfriend now, but he's being a little bit too hospitable. He doesn't ask any questions. He's just trying to be a kind person. And again, he's grieving, and I don't think he would ever think of the younger sister as anything but a younger sister. So it seems like he's missing all of the obvious signs. He's just trying to be a good host and care for kind of his family. And it's just really sad. Everyone's story is pretty tragic. The boyfriend obviously is the most tragic, but it is just a very complicated story. I really like manga that feature more complex relationships that make you think and make you want to have a discussion. I don't think it's the kind of story where you can say like, well, the sister sucks, so the whole story sucks. I do feel like there's quite a bit more nuance to it because you do have to think, well, why is the sister doing that? Like, there has to be a why behind everything. We know she has feelings, but she is really trying to latch on to something that she can understand. And it seems like the boyfriend is, at least from how I read it, it seems like the boyfriend is one of the first men in her life to treat her with such kindness. So it kind of does make sense why she would maybe develop a crush on him. It doesn't excuse what she does. It does not excuse the fact that she's trying to make him fall back in love with her. But it makes sense as to why she developed feelings for him. Again, she's going through trauma. Her parents are strict. She's living a very suffocating life. And it feels like he's kind of a breath of fresh air. And that's why I think at least she fell in love with him. And it's just very tragic. And I'm very curious about the older brother as well, because he is a whole mystery. Every time someone is asked about him, they answer differently. So in this one, I think it's omurice is, I think, the food. According to different people, he either loves it or hates it. And it can't be both. And so we're trying to discover, was he lying to everybody about who he was? What kind of person was he when he was alive? Or were other people just placing their ideals onto him? So his whole backstory is a bit of a mystery. He does not take the focus in this volume. It's more so these two on the cover. I do think he will be more prevalent, obviously through backflashes throughout the series, but this volume really focuses on these two characters, and I just found it to be really interesting. It makes me think a lot, and I really like stories that have quite a bit of depth to them, and I'm excited to keep on reading and see where the story goes.